The Hub is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
The Guam Ethics Commission has just released its first Summary of Opinions, a yearly report on decisions and advisory opinions addressing ethical misconduct complaints. To date, it has processed a total of 53 cases. Of these, 31 have been dismissed, 4 are currently still under investigation, and 18 cases are under review. The complaints cover a wide range, with 6 cases relating to employee use of confidential information, 16 for alleged unfair treatment, 7 claims alleging conflicts of interest, and the Commission deemed 24 cases were beyond its jurisdiction. Coming up, we speak with Executive Director Jesse Quenga for a full summary of the Ethics Commission's work this past year. Please stay tuned.
The Hub is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Hub. I'm Nestor Licanto, and our guest this week is Mr. Jesse Quenga, who is the Executive Director of the Guam Ethics Commission. And Jess, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Nestor. I'm so glad to have joined you today, and I look forward to kind of expounding on the work the commission has been involved in.
All right, and that's exactly why we asked you to come on the show. You had just released your Summary of Opinions, the first edition. First of all, explain what that is exactly.
Of course. We'll start probably with the Ethics Commission. We are an autonomous and independent agency within the government of Guam, and our charge is to hold public officials, namely government employees and elected officials, accountable to the high standards of conduct. The Summary of Opinions report is a mandate in our statute, which requires our office to compile a list of all of the cases heard before the commission and to kind of share what the case was about and the ultimate decision regarding that particular case. So this is our first edition, which means that we had quite a bit of cases to write about. It took a little bit of time because we had to make sure that we had sufficient deletions and omissions so that we didn't identify a specific employee or a specific office. So that, in general, I think we're very pleased to have that available as a resource for the community and for our government of Guam workforce.
And how many cases came before the commission?
That's a great question. So we started accepting cases March 2022. To date, we have had 58 cases filed already. And then I believe this report was able to discuss 38 of those cases. So we have quite a bit of work that has been coming through our doors. In fact, if I recall correctly, the day we were announcing that complaint process was starting to open up, I was on the air with the link. And while I was still on the air talking about this process, we had our first complainant walk through the doors and said, I was just listening to the station downstairs. I happened to be at their building, and walk straight up so that they can file a complaint. So since day one, literally, till this day, we're steadily getting, a few complaints that are coming through.
Yeah. Have you noticed in the time that you've been accepting complaints, has there been a trend in the type of complaint that you've been getting? Is there a majority of complaints for this or for that?
So I think the largest, within the commission, we're able to hear complaints that touch on 8 matters of jurisdiction. And this includes conflicts of interest, confidential information, the receiving of gifts or the failure to report gifts, to name a few. What we found was a large majority were cases we classified as other. That meant that that particular case, we couldn't quite deem it or name it under one of the 8 categories. And so we had to, label it as other, and subsequently had to dismiss the case at the commission level for lack of jurisdiction. After, I think, the other category, I'm not sure if you've had a chance to look at the report. I think we had the next largest one was prohibition against unfair treatment. So a lot of individuals have stepped forward saying that government officials were unfairly using their position of power or influence to either cause harm or detract against the person who filed the complaint. And so, they run the gamut. I'm struggling, I think, to give too much information because I'm still bound to maintain confidentiality. So we spent a good amount of effort kind of expounding on each of the specific cases. And I'm like here trying to weigh whether I can say something without giving a name away. But
Sure.
after, I think after unfair treatment, we also had um, conflicts of interest, and then the use of confidential information that has stepped forward to round up our top three.
Yeah. How typically do you handle it? So just walk us through the process. When you receive a complaint, is it typically by email, by phone call, by letter? And then what are the steps that are taken to investigate that?
Great. Yeah, excellent question. We have, I believe, two primary ways that an individual can file a complaint. The first would be an in-person visit to the office, and we have the forms here. So the initial step is to meet with a staff member. We have ethics investigators on staff that will receive the complainant and walk through the 8 matters of jurisdiction and the actual complaint form so that they understand completely their responsibility to maintaining confidentiality, and they also understand the process. Through that, the staff member or the investigator will do what's called a conflict scrub, and that in essence will determine, based on the complainant's information and who the accused official is, does the staff member have any potential conflicts with managing this case? Assuming, and in most cases, the determination is in fact they can handle it without any conflict, then they will take and compile, put together a case file. Then that report is shared to the executive director and then subsequently our prosecutorial counsel. And so at that stage, you would find this is where we reach out to the person that's accused of wrongdoing, and we would make a request either for a response or for documentation, and then present to the commission under one of our closed proceedings at a public meeting the information. So this is the complaint that stepped forward. This is the response we received from, or the evidence from the complainant, and then the response from the accused official. And subsequently, the commission would then be left to either pursue further investigation, which may lead to a hearing, or to dismiss the matter, finding that there is no violation based on what was reported to the office.
All right, we got to take a
The
short.
other way,
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead,
sure.
Jeff. I'm sorry.
The other way that we offer persons to file a complaint is through our website. And so if you wanted to, you didn't have to come in person. You can go to guamethics.com, and there's a button there that says file a complaint or make a report. And so you could do that whole process, but virtually without having to visit our office in person.
All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more of our conversation with Jesse Quenga, the executive director of the Guam Ethics Commission, right after this.
The Hub is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
All right, we are back with Jesse Quenga, who is the executive director of the Guam Ethics Commission. Just before the break, you were talking a little bit about how one goes about filing a complaint. I wanted to, just go back and talk a little bit more. And I know you're limited in how much you can say, but the typical one of the typical complaints was unfair treatment, and does that rise to the level of really an ethics violation? Because even in the private sector, everyday workforce, there's always bound to be some conflicts between coworkers or supervisors, and that thing, does that necessarily make for an ethical violation, or is it just human routine conflicts in personality?
And that's a great question. And it really depends on the type of treatment being received by the individual filing the complaint. What we look for is, do public officials use their position, particularly in a manner that would support financial gain against an employee? And so unfair treatment could be like seeing another agency head kind of leverage their position to get a job secured for a family member or for any other individual. And so that would be unethical. That would be a violation, because a general member of the community doesn't have that same level of access or relationship with another agency head. If we find evidence that department heads are doing this as an example, that would be a clear violation. We shouldn't see public officials using their position, I suppose, at a base level for any gain. I think we want to promote a fair and equitable government, and that's why fair treatment was included as a matter of jurisdiction.
Yeah, and a lot of that is made reference to, what we like to call the pari system.
That's right. And so, I think unfortunately for the government, I think in the past, particularly, this has been a common saying that it's who you know rather in the government. That's how most officials get their jobs secured or they're able to provide for their families. And so I appreciate that this office is making an honest attempt at sort of correcting those bad reputations. Part of that is in what we do. And so the commission, other than receiving complaints and adjudicating of complaints, we're also charged with conducting ethics in government training. And recently in 2021, that training mandate expanded to now include all employees of the government would have to go through some type of ethics and training. And so to date, of the 12,000 in the government of Guam or so, we have trained well over 5,000. And we're growing that number with a goal of at least getting 3,000 employees certified and have gone through their initial training each year for the next 4 years. What we're finding now is more are becoming aware of the practices that are unethical that they should avoid. I think in the past, what we've seen is most officials may claim, "Well, I just didn't know that that was not allowed by myself, and I thought I could be empowered to have that communication or to have those conversations." When in fact, these trainings are starting to now uncover and expose that those practices are not just wrong, but they're illegal.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about this comprehensive ethics training. I know the Office of Public Accountability had also talked about the need for that sort of training within the government of law.
That's right. So back in May, I think of 2021, when that Public Law 3625 was enacted, the Public Auditor's Office, as well as the Ethics Commission, we sat together to testify on this Bill 94, which expanded this training. So, originally it was a training geared specific to appointed and elected officials. But what we were discovering is, ethics is important at all levels of government, not just at the top. And so we were tasked with getting this training out very broadly to the entire government of Guam. So we were very excited because we offer now two modes of delivery. The traditional mode, which is a live workshop, we continue to host. I think if you go to our website, you'll find a schedule of events. And so anyone can register for any date that they find on the calendar for a workshop. And then what we launched a few months ago is an asynchronous online learning module. And so we were really developing this training as this online training rather for our shift workers because not every government employee would work a typical 8 to 5. You would have nurses, public safety officers, persons who work in corrections that pull overnighters and they can attend ethics training that sits in a conference room for 4 hours. And so we now have this available on our website where independently an employee can register, watch 3 modules of our ethics material, and then obtain their certification.
Yeah, and ethics training is now required for all new hires, and also to continue working for GovGuam, you need to update your ethics training.
That's right. That's correct. And how we engage with each agency to ensure their compliance is 30 days following the end of the fiscal year, they have to produce what is called the Ethics Training Compliance Report to our office, and then we submit that data to both the speaker and the office of the governor. And what we do is we detail now the agency and their level of compliance. And so we can acknowledge those departments that have been very forthright in getting all their employees through and certified. We have quite a number of them. And then we also kind of emphasize for those departments that haven't made any movement, that, they're falling behind schedule. We really need them to get on the ball with getting their employees through to get trained.
Yeah. Now, sexual harassment has at the workplace has been in the news in recent years. Is that something that falls under the Ethics Commission, or does that rise to, say, a criminal complaint? What can you say about sexual harassment complaints at the workplace?
I think that would be a category that would have like layered areas of jurisdiction. I think if there were issues of sexual harassment, there really is power with the appointed authority to go and ensure that that matter is seriously heard and adjudicated. Also, Civil Service Commission, I think, is a similar body that they're able to affect adverse actions against an employee if they're found guilty. Our office is more particularly concerned about the conduct of employees as it relates to personal or financial gain. So are we using our positions in a way that isn't readily available to the general public, right? Are you saying that because you have access to contacts or even equipment and supplies, and you start using that for a personal benefit, then that's a function that our office is more specifically interested in and wants to help absolve within the government of Guam.
All right, Jess, we need to take one more quick break, and we'll be back to kind of wrap up the show. We're talking to Jesse Quenga, who is the Executive Director of the Guam Ethics Commission. We'll be right back.
The Hub is presented to you by Calvo Enterprises, Inc.
And we are back from the break. We're talking with Jesse Quenga, who is the Executive Director of the Guam Ethics Commission. Jess, you just finished this summary of opinions, and the purpose, of course, was to kind of report on your first year or so of doing this ethics thing that was a previous law that was dormant for a while, and just in the past couple of years was kind of rematerialized. So just a general sense of is the government of Guam corrupt and you need to have this ethics commission, or in general is 99.9% of the government employees just really hardworking folks that are trying to do their job?
I want to say that we do have a lot of hardworking government employees. Where the thought of corruption is prevalent happens out in the community. And what we're hoping to do is to break that stigma and to shine a light into the government operations. We also felt that it's important to lead by example. So this first publication of the Summary of Opinions is our way of shining a light into the operations of the Guam Ethics Commission. Really, we're pulling the veil to say this is the type of work that our office continues to do on behalf of the people of Guam. Unfortunately, because when we hear these cases by nature, they have to be in secret in order to avoid I think, wrongful accusations against public officials who eventually get acquitted. But there is work that the commission does that is helpful and useful for the community and government employees alike. So we're really pleased that this resource is now available, and we can show that yes, there's hardworking officials at government at play, and with regards to the stigma against the government of Guam, that we're working hard towards correcting that and changing that perception. If there are bad actors, and I'm sure, unfortunately, like in any organization, there will be one or a few bad actors, we'll find them. And, this is an opportunity, and I'm glad we have this platform to reach out to the community or government employees alike. If you believe that you know of public officials who are behaving unethically or against the standard of conduct, to contact our office, and I'll share that information with you maybe at the end of the show. So we'll do our part to do an independent investigation in the matter and to share with you and the official what we've determined following that investigation. I think ultimately, with proper education, we can promote a more informed workforce that helps promote to the efficiency and the effectiveness of government.
Yeah, this is kind of like if you see something, say something, like the Homeland Security said does, right?
Right, absolutely. And I'm glad when we're seeing more officials go through the training, we're subsequently seeing a rise in the number of complaints that are coming through the doors because now not only are they aware about their own personal actions, but they're probably identifying actions of their superiors or even their colleagues, and they start to report that, and we look into the matter. I also want to say that the training is just helpful because we, I think, have a large workforce that's relatively unsure about what their standard of conduct is as an employee. You know, what is required of me beyond going to work 8 to 5. And so I'm glad we talk about these different elements like receiving of gifts as a big one, like what we're allowed or not allowed to receive.
All right, Jess, we got about a couple of minutes left, so give you an opportunity to kind of wrap up what you wanted to get across to the public.
Thank you so much. And so the Guam Ethics Commission remains open and available. So if any person in the community would like to report or to share information about a potential wrongdoing, please reach out to us. Our contact number is 969-5625. You can also visit our website, guamethics.com. On the website, you'll see a slew of information like our contacts, our emails, and then you can also go through the complaint process. Now, we remain available as a resource to the community as well as the government of Guam. And so this is an open call. Feel free to reach out. And one more thing I might add that we've recently started to receive more of, these are advisory opinions. And so if you are a government employee and you are unsure if this potential act is a violation, you can ask our office for an opinion, and that opinion will be binding. So if we receive a complaint sometime in the future, whatever the opinion is that the commission rendered, and you follow that to the letter, that complaint will be dismissed. And so when in doubt, ask about, and we encourage you to visit our office, give us a call, or even our website, and we'll be sure to give you the best resource available so we can all maintain that ethical behavior while serving in the government of Guam.
Yeah, thanks for sharing it, because I think that's an important service that you will be able to provide to workers out there.
Thank you, Ness, and thank you for the platform again. You know, anytime you want to reach out to our office, we're here. We're happy to engage with all our members of the community. And so thank you for giving us this chance to reach out.
Thank you. That's Jesse Quenga. He is the Executive Director of the Guam Ethics Commission. Thanks for joining us. I'm Nestor Licanto. We'll see you again next week.